Well, hello there, my friend, and welcome to this exploration of Marie Callas's life's work. I'm excited to have you here and thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait for us to dig deep into this topic together and become even more inspired by her than we ever were. I actually felt really tempted to begin this video straight with the line "Vici d'arte, vici d'amore," to be really dramatic. And I know it's a cliche, but it is kind of fitting. It's actually the opening of an aria from Giacomo Puccini's opera Tosca, if you didn't know. And it was considered kind of a good summary of her whole life, because she lived for art, but not only art, she lived for love. It's a very vague statement actually, but at least it conveys the idea of living with passion. And Callas was a great example of that. Now, as you may have noticed, most biographies and documentaries about Callas focus a lot on the vici d'amore part of her life through analyzing every single detail of her personal life. And I get that because it is a very intriguing life that she had and that she lived. But it's kind of a shame that her artistic competence and excellence is always, well, it is recognized, but it's sometimes also a bit ignored, just because of the fact that her personal life was so interesting as well. And that was a problem already at the time when she lived, that the press obviously wasn't her best friend, in the sense that they printed out lots of different kinds of lies concerning her life, and that wasn't nice. Of course, there is some academic research that focuses on purely her artistic qualities and what made her interpretations so compelling. But it's not always the case, and most of the time people are just very curious about her as a woman as a whole and her whole life, and don't know that much about what she did musically and what was her work ethic like, for example. And I do find everything about her very intriguing too, in the same sense, but now in this exploration, this is a space for us to think about her legacy in terms of her art and how she thought about art and but reaching for excellence in everything she did, which is inspiring to me at least. Now here's what Callas says about her legacy as an artist. J'ai écrit mes mémoires. Ils sont dans la musique que j'interprète, la seule langue que je connaisse vraiment, la seule façon dont je puisse parler de mon art et de moi-même. Et mes enregistrements, pour ce qu'ils valent, ont préservé mon histoire. I love it. So in English it goes along the lines of this. I have written my memoirs. They are in the music I interpret. The only language I truly know. The only way I can talk about my art and myself. And my recordings, for what they're worth, have preserved my story. Now, it's not entirely true that she would have only recorded her memoirs in her music, because she has dictated some memoirs that are in this book that I will reference during this exploration quite a lot. So these are Callas's letters and memoirs that have been assembled by Mr. Tom Wolfe, who has also done the famous documentary Maria by Callas in 2017, I think. And here you have some of the memoirs that Callas dictated in 1957 and then in 1977. In addition, there's also lots of archival footage, like some of her concerts and interviews that I'll also reference from time to time. Callas actually thought herself that she's not very good with words or with discussing her approach to her art and music in general, but I find that she was actually very eloquent in her interviews. She spoke in a very simple and charming way that I find always so appealing, so that's why we're gonna reference some of those clips of her interviews as well. But the focal point really of this exploration is her approach to her life's work, how passionate she was, and how she had so much artistic integrity, and integrity as a whole person as well. I hope that this won't be just some basic advice, but more so reflections on the nature of excellence and how Callas applied the principles for creating something that feels meaningful. And of course, these are just basically notes to myself about how I would like to approach my work and life, but I hope they resonate with you as well. And I'm aware that I'll be probably sharing these thoughts in a very idealistic tone, but what can I do? I'm a hopeless idealist. It's true that Callas had these very noble features in her character, and she appreciated noble features in others. They're essentially the same eternal virtues that everybody always tried to strive to emulate, but in this deep dive we'll treat them through the lens of Callas's life's work. And of course you can jump around in the different sections of this analysis if you feel like it, but that said, I have designed a logical and emotional arc to this whole thing, at least I tried, so I suggest that you go through this in sequence if possible. Yeah, let's jump right in.